The morning sun blazed over Camp Pendleton Marine Base in Southern California, casting long shadows across the training grounds. Sergeant Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he led his squad through another grueling exercise routine. It was just another Tuesday in July, the kind of day where the heat seemed to rise from the asphalt in visible waves. Nobody expected anything unusual to happen. Around 10:30 in the morning, one of the younger Marines, Private James Rodriguez, noticed something moving near the perimeter fence. At first he thought it might be a coyote. They occasionally wandered too close to the base, drawn by the scent of food from the mess hall. But as the shape came closer, Rodriguez realized it was a dog. A large German shepherd, to be exact. The dog moved with an odd, unsteady gait. Its tongue hung from its mouth, and even from a distance Rodriguez could see the animal was in distress. The German shepherd's beautiful tan and black coat was dusty and matted in places. The dog kept moving forward, seemingly with purpose, but its legs trembled with each step. Rodriguez called out to Sergeant Chen, pointing toward the approaching animal. Chen held up his hand, stopping the training exercise. All 12 Marines in the squad turned to watch as the German shepherd continued its determined march toward them. There was something almost human in the way the dog moved, as if it was fighting against its own body to reach a specific destination. The base had strict protocols about stray animals. Wild dogs could carry diseases, and they posed potential security risks. But as the German shepherd drew closer, something in its eyes made Chen hesitate. This was not a wild animal. This dog had intelligence behind its gaze, and more than that, it seemed to be asking for help. The German shepherd made it within 50 feet of the Marines before its front legs buckled. The dog tried to stand, pushing itself up with visible effort, but its body would not cooperate. Its dark eyes fixed on Sergeant Chen, and in that moment, Chen saw something he would never forget. The dog was not just tired or hot. It was desperately ill, and it knew it. Yet somehow the animal had made a conscious choice to come here, to this place, to these people. Chen approached slowly, speaking in low, calm tones. He had grown up with dogs on his family's farm in Central California, and he understood their body language. This German shepherd was not aggressive despite its distress. If anything, the dog seemed relieved that someone was finally coming to help. As Chen knelt beside the animal, he noticed the collar. It was a thick military-grade collar, not the kind you would buy at a regular pet store. His fingers found the metal ID tag hanging from it, and he turned it over to read the inscription. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. The tag bore an official military identification number. Below that, a name, Rex. And beneath the name, a designation that explained everything. K-9 Unit, United States Marine Corps. This was not just any dog. This was a Marine, a working military dog who had served alongside human soldiers. But there was more on the tag that made Chen's hands shake slightly as he read. An address was engraved on the reverse side, along with a phone number and 3 words that changed the entire situation. If found, urgent. Private Rodriguez had come up behind Chen, and he leaned over to see what his sergeant was reading. "Sir, is that a military dog?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Rodriguez had wanted to work with the K-9 unit since joining the Marines, and he knew these dogs were not just animals. They were trained professionals, partners to their handlers, and heroes in their own right. Chen nodded, his mind racing. A military working dog did not end up alone and sick by accident. Something had happened, something serious. These dogs were too valuable, too well-trained, and too carefully monitored to simply wander off. And the condition Rex was in suggested he had been traveling for some time, pushing himself beyond normal limits. The German shepherd's breathing had become labored. His eyes, though still alert, showed the glazed quality of fever. Chen placed his hand gently on the dog's side and felt the rapid, irregular heartbeat beneath the fur. Rex was in critical condition, and time was not on their side. Chen made a quick decision. "Rodriguez, run to the base veterinary clinic. Tell them we have a military working dog in medical distress. Move fast." Rodriguez took off at a sprint, his boots pounding against the ground as he raced toward the medical facilities. Meanwhile, Chen carefully examined Rex without moving him too much. The dog's paws were cracked and bleeding, evidence of a long journey over rough terrain. His gums were pale, suggesting dehydration or blood loss. There were no obvious wounds, no signs of attack or injury from an accident. Whatever was wrong with Rex was internal, and it was serious. The other Marines had gathered around, forming a protective circle. These were tough men, trained to face combat without flinching, but every single one of them was affected by the sight of this brave dog who had somehow made it to their base. Corporal Williams, the squad's medic, knelt down and began checking the dog's vital signs with the same care he would show a human patient. "His pulse is weak," Williams reported. "Breathing is shallow. He's definitely running a fever. We need to get fluids into him soon or he is not going to make it." Chen looked down at the ID tag again, memorizing every detail. The phone number etched into the metal seemed to pulse with importance. Someone, somewhere, was waiting for information about this dog. Someone cared deeply about Rex's fate. The words "if found urgent" suggested that Rex was not just missing. He was needed, expected, searched for. A military vehicle appeared in the distance, kicking up dust as it sped toward them. Rodriguez had delivered the message and help was coming. But as Chen watched Rex's labored breathing, he wondered if help would arrive in time. The dog's eyes began to close and his body went limp against the hot ground. Chen placed his hand on Rex's head, speaking softly.
"Stay with us, buddy."
"You did not come all this way to give up now. Whatever you are trying to tell us, whatever brought you here, we are going to figure it out. Just hang on." The vehicle screeched to a halt and Captain Sarah Martinez, the base veterinarian, jumped out with her medical kit. She took one look at Rex and immediately began issuing orders. Within seconds, she had an IV line ready, and she worked with practiced efficiency to find a vein in the dog's front leg. As the fluids began flowing into Rex's system, Martinez examined the ID tag. Her expression changed from professional concern to something deeper, something more personal. She looked up at Chen and he saw tears forming in her eyes. "Do you know who this dog belongs to?" she asked quietly. Chen shook his head. "The tag has a phone number. We have not called it yet." Martinez stood up, pulling out her phone. "I know this number," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know exactly who this dog belongs to, and if Rex is here like this, something terrible has happened. We need to make that call right now." Captain Martinez's hands trembled slightly as she dialed the number engraved on Rex's tag. Sergeant Chen watched her face carefully, trying to understand the connection she seemed to have with this situation. Around them, the other Marines maintained their protective circle around the unconscious German Shepherd, who now had IV fluids running into his system. The phone rang 3 times before someone picked up. Martinez put it on speaker so Chen could hear. A woman's voice answered, thick with emotion and exhaustion. "This is Linda Harper. Do you have information about Rex?" Martinez took a deep breath. "Mrs. Harper, this is Captain Sarah Martinez from Camp Pendleton. We have Rex here. He collapsed on our base about 20 minutes ago. He is alive, but he is in critical condition." The sound that came through the phone was somewhere between a sob and a gasp of relief. "Oh, thank God, thank God. Is he going to be okay? Please tell me he is going to be okay." Martinez looked down at Rex, whose breathing had stabilized slightly with the fluids. "Ma'am, I am doing everything I can. But I need to understand what happened. Rex's condition suggests he has been traveling for a significant distance. Can you tell me where he came from?" There was a pause, and then Linda Harper's voice came back stronger, more focused. "Rex disappeared 3 days ago from our home in Riverside. That is over 70 miles from where you are. We have been searching everywhere, called every shelter, every vet clinic, posted on every social media group. My husband said Rex would try to get back to base, but I did not believe a dog could travel that far." Chen felt his chest tighten. 70 miles. The dog had traveled 70 miles through Southern California summer heat, across highways and through rough terrain, to reach this base. The cracked and bleeding paws made terrible sense now. So did the exhaustion and dehydration. "Mrs. Harper," Martinez continued, "I need to know if Rex has any medical conditions I should be aware of. Has he been sick recently?" Another pause, longer this time. When Linda spoke again, her voice cracked. "Rex has diabetes. He needs insulin shots twice a day, every 12 hours. If he missed his doses for 3 days, he could go into diabetic ketoacidosis. That would be why he is so sick." Martinez closed her eyes briefly and Chen saw her shoulders tense. Diabetic ketoacidosis was a life-threatening condition, and 3 days without insulin meant Rex had been fighting against his own failing body for the entire journey. Yet somehow the dog had kept going, driven by something beyond normal animal instinct. "Why would Rex come here?" Chen asked, unable to contain his question any longer. "Why would he travel so far to reach this specific base?" Linda Harper's answer came with a mixture of pride and grief. Because this is where my husband is. This is where Staff Sergeant David Harper is stationed. Rex was David's K-9 partner for 4 years in Afghanistan. They cleared buildings together, searched for explosives, saved countless lives. When David retired from active duty 8 months ago due to his injuries, Rex retired with him. The Marine Corps allowed David to adopt Rex. They have been inseparable ever since. Martinez and Chen exchanged glances. The pieces were starting to fall into place, but something still did not add up. Mrs. Harper, Martinez said carefully, where is your husband now? Why is not he the one making this call? The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken pain. When Linda finally spoke, her words came out in a rush, as if saying them quickly would make them hurt less. David is in the hospital. 3 days ago, the same morning Rex disappeared, David had a major heart attack. It happened suddenly while he was at home. The paramedics came and everything was chaos. David was unconscious when they loaded him into the ambulance. Rex was going crazy, trying to get into the ambulance with them, barking and pulling against his collar. My neighbor helped me hold Rex back while they took David away. I had to follow in my car and I asked my neighbor to watch Rex. But when I called her an hour later from the hospital, she said Rex had somehow gotten out of our yard. Chen felt something twist in his gut. The picture was becoming painfully clear. Rex had not just wandered off. The dog had gone searching for his partner, the person who meant everything to him. And somehow, through some combination of training, loyalty, and desperate love, Rex had known exactly where he needed to go. Mrs. Harper, Chen said, his voice rough with emotion, how is your husband doing now? Linda's answer came through tears. He is still in ICU. He had surgery to place stents in his heart. The doctors say he is stable, but he has not woken up yet. They have him sedated. I have been sitting here for 3 days, terrified that I might lose him. And the whole time I have been worried sick about Rex too. I kept thinking about how David would feel if he woke up and Rex was gone. Those two, they saved each other over in Afghanistan. David says Rex kept him alive during his darkest moments. And when David came home with PTSD and physical injuries, Rex was the one who helped him heal. They are not just a man and a dog. They are brothers. Martinez had been doing quick calculations on her tablet while listening. Mrs. Harper, Rex is in diabetic ketoacidosis, just as you suspected. I am starting emergency treatment now, but I need to be honest with you. The next few hours are critical. The combination of missing insulin, severe dehydration, and physical exhaustion from his journey has put enormous strain on his system. I am going to do everything in my power to save him, but you should prepare yourself. Please, Linda whispered. Please save him. David needs him. I cannot lose them both. Martinez ended the call and immediately began barking orders to her veterinary technicians, who had arrived with additional medical supplies. She started Rex on insulin therapy, carefully monitoring his blood glucose levels. The dog remained unconscious, his body fighting a battle on multiple fronts. Chen and his Marines stood back, giving the medical team room to work, but nobody left. Word had spread across the base about the K-9 who had traveled 70 miles to reach his handler. More Marines began arriving, standing at a respectful distance, their presence a silent vigil for one of their own. Private Rodriguez approached Chen quietly. Sergeant, I did some research on my phone. Staff Sergeant David Harper has a Medal of Commendation for his work in Afghanistan. Him and Rex, they were legends in the K-9 community. There are articles about missions they completed, lives they saved. Rex personally detected 3 IEDs that would have killed entire squads. Chen nodded, not surprised. It took an extraordinary bond to drive a sick dog across 70 miles of harsh terrain. Rex was not just looking for any human. He was looking for the one human who mattered most. The partner who had stood beside him in war, who had brought him home, who had given him a peaceful life after years of service. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, Captain Martinez worked tirelessly over Rex. She had called in 2 other veterinary specialists from nearby bases. They discussed treatment options, adjusted medication dosages, and monitored every fluctuation in the dog's vital signs. The Marine Corps took care of its own, whether they walked on 2 legs or 4. Around 3 in the afternoon, Rex's eyes finally opened. The dog was still weak, still very sick, but consciousness was a good sign. Martinez allowed herself a small smile as she stroked Rex's head gently. "Welcome back, warrior," she said softly. Rex's eyes moved slowly, taking in his surroundings. He was in an unfamiliar place, surrounded by strangers, hooked up to tubes and monitors. But these were Marines, and on some level, Rex seemed to understand he was among friends. His tail gave one weak thump against the examination table. Chen stepped closer, holding the ID tag where Rex could see it. "You did it, buddy. You made it to base. You found us. Now we are going to help you. And we are going to get you back to your partner." At the word partner, Rex's ears perked up slightly. His eyes searched the faces around him, looking for the one face that mattered. When he did not find it, a soft whine escaped his throat. Martinez checked her watch. It had been 6 hours since they found Rex. She made a decision and pulled out her phone again, calling Linda Harper. "Mrs. Harper, Rex is awake. He is not out of danger yet, but he is conscious and responding to treatment. I know you cannot leave your husband, but I wanted you to know." Linda's voice was steadier now. "Thank you, Captain. Thank you so much. And I have news too. David woke up an hour ago. He is groggy and weak, but he is awake. The first thing he asked about was Rex. I told him we had been searching. I did not want to worry him by saying Rex was still missing, but now I can tell him the truth." "Can I tell him that Rex is there, that you found him?" "Yes," Martinez said firmly. "Tell him Rex is here, and tell him his dog is the bravest, most loyal animal I have ever seen. Tell him Rex traveled 70 miles to get back to him. Tell him that every Marine on this base is in awe of what his partner accomplished." News of Rex's incredible journey spread through Camp Pendleton like wildfire. By evening, the small veterinary clinic had become an unofficial gathering point for dozens of Marines who wanted to see the legendary dog for themselves. Captain Martinez had to establish visiting hours and limit the number of people in the treatment room at any given time. Sergeant Chen found himself appointed as the unofficial liaison between the veterinary team and the growing crowd of concerned Marines. He understood why so many wanted to be there. Rex represented something fundamental about the core values: loyalty, courage, and never leaving a fallen comrade behind. The dog had embodied those principles in the most literal way possible. As night fell over the base, Martinez continued monitoring Rex's condition closely. The insulin therapy was working, slowly bringing his blood sugar levels back toward normal range. His kidney function, which had been dangerously compromised, was showing slight improvement. The IV fluids were rehydrating his battered body, but the veterinarian knew they were not out of the woods yet. Diabetic ketoacidosis could cause complications that appeared hours or even days after the initial crisis. Private Rodriguez had taken it upon himself to research everything he could find about Staff Sergeant David Harper and Rex. He sat in the waiting area with his laptop, reading through military reports and news articles from their time in Afghanistan. What he discovered painted a picture of an extraordinary partnership. David Harper had joined the Marines at age 20, driven by a desire to serve his country after the September 11th attacks. He excelled in his training and eventually qualified for the K-9 Handler program. That was where he met Rex, a 2-year-old German Shepherd who had been bred and trained specifically for military work. The match between handler and dog had been immediate and profound. Their first deployment to Afghanistan in 2018 had been to Helmand Province, one of the most dangerous areas in the country. David and Rex worked with infantry units, clearing compounds and searching for improvised explosive devices before patrols moved through areas. The job was tense, dangerous work. A K-9 team often walked point, their lives depending on the dog's ability to detect hidden threats. Rodriguez found an interview that David had given to a military magazine. In it, the staff sergeant described Rex as having an almost supernatural ability to sense danger. "Rex saved my life at least a dozen times," David had said. "But more than that, he saved my sanity. When you are deployed in a war zone, dealing with constant stress and the weight of responsibility for your squad's safety, having that dog beside you makes all the difference. Rex was my partner, my friend, and my anchor to something normal in an abnormal situation." The article included several photographs. One showed David and Rex clearing a building, both of them focused and professional. Another caught them during downtime, David sitting on the ground with Rex's head in his lap, both of them relaxed and peaceful. The bond between them was visible even in still images. Rodriguez shared what he learned with the other Marines who were waiting for updates on Rex's condition. The stories created a ripple effect of respect and emotion. These were people who understood military service, who knew what it meant to trust your life to the person beside you. Learning about David and Rex's history made the dog's 70-mile journey even more meaningful. Around midnight, Martinez came out to the waiting area where Chen and several others had maintained their vigil. She looked exhausted but cautiously optimistic. Rex is sleeping now, which is what he needs. His vitals have stabilized significantly. I think we can say he is going to survive this, but his recovery will take time. His paws are badly damaged and the strain on his organs was severe. He will need continued insulin therapy and careful monitoring. A small cheer went up from the assembled Marines. Chen felt relief wash over him. He had only known Rex for half a day, but the dog had already earned a permanent place in his heart. There is something else, Martinez continued. I spoke with Mrs. Harper again. Staff Sergeant Harper is being moved out of ICU tomorrow morning. His doctors are very encouraged by his progress. Mrs. Harper asked if there was any way we could arrange for David to know Rex is truly okay. Not just hear about it, but see it for himself. I told her I would think about it. Chen understood the unspoken question. You want to know if we can transport Rex to the hospital? Martinez nodded. It would be risky. Rex should not be moved in his current condition. But I have been thinking about the healing power of hope. Staff Sergeant Harper just survived a major heart attack. His emotional state is critical to his recovery. If seeing Rex could give him a reason to fight harder, to heal faster, then maybe the risk is worth it. Corporal Williams, the medic, spoke up. Ma'am, I have seen plenty of cases where a patient's will to live made the difference between recovery and decline. If Staff Sergeant Harper's strongest motivation is getting home to his dog, then Rex might be the best medicine he could receive. The discussion continued for another hour, with Martinez calling in favors and consulting with both the base commander and David's doctors at the hospital. Finally, a plan came together. If Rex continued to improve overnight, they would transport him to the hospital the following afternoon in a specially equipped vehicle. The veterinary team would accompany him, along with portable monitoring equipment. It would be a brief visit, just long enough for David to see that his partner was alive and fighting. The night passed slowly for those keeping watch over Rex. Marines rotated through in shifts, ensuring someone was always present. They brought blankets, water, and food for the veterinary staff. Someone set up a coffee station in the hallway. The sense of community and shared purpose was palpable. Chen stayed through the entire night, catching brief naps in a waiting room chair. Every hour he would check on Rex's status. Each time Martinez gave him encouraging reports. The dog's resilience was remarkable, a testament to both his physical conditioning and his powerful will to survive. At dawn, when the first light began filtering through the clinic windows, Chen went in to see Rex. The German Shepherd was awake, his dark eyes more alert than they had been the previous day. Martinez had removed some of the monitoring equipment, though the IV line remained in place. Rex's tail wagged weakly when Chen approached. Good morning, hero, Chen said softly, scratching behind Rex's ears. You have got a big day ahead. You are going to see your partner today. He has been waiting for you and you have been searching for him. Today you two get reunited. Rex's tail wagged harder as if he understood the words. Maybe on some level he did. Working military dogs learn to understand hundreds of commands and cues. The emotional intelligence required for their job meant they could often sense human feelings and intentions beyond simple verbal communication. Martinez arrived early, before her official shift began. She conducted a thorough examination of Rex, checking his blood work, testing his reflexes, examining his paws. He's doing better than I dared hope, she announced. I think he can handle the transport. We will keep it short, no more than an hour at the hospital, but I believe this is the right call. The preparations for Rex's transport took most of the morning. Martinez and her team created a comfortable space in the back of a military ambulance, complete with temperature control and monitoring equipment. They carefully wrapped Rex's damaged paws in protective bandages. A portable IV stand was secured so his fluids could continue during the journey. Linda Harper called twice to confirm the plan and provide updates on her husband's condition. David had been told that Rex was safe, but he had become agitated, insisting he needed to see his dog with his own eyes. The doctors had agreed that the emotional benefit of the reunion might outweigh the risks of the visit. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Rex was carefully lifted onto a stretcher and loaded into the ambulance. Martinez, Chen, and 2 veterinary technicians climbed in with him. Private Rodriguez asked permission to come along and Chen agreed. The young Marine's dedication to Rex's story had earned him a place in this moment. The drive to the hospital took 40 minutes. Rex remained calm throughout, his eyes watching everything with interest despite his weakness. When they pulled up to the hospital's loading dock, a team of staff was waiting to escort them through to David's room. Linda Harper met them in the hallway outside her husband's room. She was a small woman in her mid-30s, with tired eyes and a worried expression that transformed into joy when she saw Rex. Tears streamed down her face as she approached the stretcher, placing her hand gently on the dog's head. "Oh, Rex," she whispered. "You brave, beautiful boy. You found your way home." Linda Harper led the group down the hospital corridor, walking beside Rex's stretcher with her hand resting protectively on his side. Captain Martinez had warned everyone that they needed to keep the visit brief to avoid overtaxing either David or Rex, both of whom were still in fragile conditions. The hospital staff had cleared the hallway, understanding the significance of this moment. Outside David's room, Linda paused and turned to face the group. Her eyes were red from days of crying, but there was strength in her voice. "I need to prepare you for what you are about to see. David looks different than you might expect from reading about him. The heart attack was severe. He has tubes and monitors everywhere. He is weak, but more than that, he has been struggling emotionally. When he woke up and learned Rex was missing, something broke inside him. He blamed himself for not being able to protect Rex. He kept saying he failed his partner." Chen felt his throat tighten. He understood that kind of guilt, the feeling that you had let down someone who depended on you. For a man like David Harper, who had spent years as a Marine, the sense of failure must have been crushing. Linda continued, "The doctors are concerned about his mental state affecting his physical recovery. Depression and trauma can slow healing, especially after cardiac events. But when I told him Rex was alive, that Rex had traveled all those miles to find him, I saw light come back into his eyes. So please understand, this visit is not just about David seeing Rex. It is about David remembering why he needs to fight, why he needs to get better." Martinez nodded solemnly. "We understand, Mrs. Harper, and I want you to know that Rex has been fighting too. He pushed his body beyond what should have been possible to get to your husband. These two are warriors, and warriors do not give up on each other." Linda opened the door slowly. The room was dimmed, filled with the quiet beeping of medical monitors and the soft hiss of oxygen equipment. In the hospital bed lay Staff Sergeant David Harper, and Linda had not exaggerated about his condition. He looked much older than his 38 years, his face pale and drawn. His eyes were closed, and an oxygen cannula ran beneath his nose. IV lines connected to both arms. A cardiac monitor displayed his heartbeat in steady green waves. But when the door opened wider and the stretcher was wheeled in, David's eyes snapped open. He tried to sit up, setting off alarms on his monitors as his heart rate spiked. "Rex?" His voice was barely a whisper, hoarse from the breathing tube that had been removed only that morning. Linda rushed to his side, gently pressing him back against the pillows. "Easy, honey. Yes, Rex is here, but you need to stay calm. Your heart cannot handle excitement right now." A nurse appeared, checking the monitors with concern, but she saw what was happening and her expression softened. She adjusted some settings and nodded to Martinez. "Keep it brief and keep him calm." Chen and Rodriguez carefully maneuvered the stretcher closer to the bed. Rex had been quiet during the transport, but now his whole body became alert. His ears perked forward, his tail began wagging despite his weakness, and a soft whine escaped his throat. The dog's eyes locked onto David with an intensity that was almost human in its depth of emotion. David's hand reached out, trembling, and Rex stretched his neck as far as the IV line would allow, straining to close the distance between them. When David's fingers finally touched Rex's head, both man and dog seemed to exhale in unison, as if they had been holding their breath for days. "I thought I lost you," David whispered, tears streaming down his face. "When I woke up and Linda said you were gone, I thought I had failed you. After everything we went through together, after bringing you home safe, I thought I let you disappear." Rex responded with a soft bark. Not the sharp command bark of a working military dog, but something gentler, almost conversational. His tail wagged harder, and he pushed his face into David's hand with surprising strength. Martinez watched the monitors carefully. David's heart rate had elevated, but it remained within acceptable parameters. More importantly, His blood pressure, which had been dangerously low since the heart attack, was actually improving. The reunion was having a measurable positive effect on his body's functioning. Linda stood on the other side of the bed, crying openly now. "David, you will not believe what Rex did. You will not believe where he went to find you." Sergeant Chen stepped forward, introducing himself. "Staff Sergeant Harper, sir. I am Sergeant Marcus Chen from Camp Pendleton. Rex appeared at our base yesterday morning. He walked onto the training grounds and collapsed right in front of my squad." David looked confused, his hand never leaving Rex's head. "Camp Pendleton? But that is 70 miles from our house. How could he possibly—" "We had the same question, sir," Chen continued, "but we found the answer on his ID tag. Your contact information and, more importantly, your status as his handler. Rex did not get lost, sir. He went searching for you. When you left in that ambulance when he could not go with you, Rex decided to go to the place where he knew you belonged. He went to find his Marine." The words hung in the air, their weight settling over everyone in the room. David stared at Rex, his expression moving through disbelief, amazement, and finally overwhelming emotion. "You walked 70 miles, he said to the dog. "Through the heat while you were sick, needing your insulin. You walked all that way to find me." Martinez added gently, "Sir, Rex has diabetes. He missed 3 days of insulin during his journey. He went into diabetic ketoacidosis. He was dying when we found him. But he kept going anyway. Whatever drove him, whatever bond you two share, it was stronger than his body's limitations." David buried his face against Rex's neck, his shoulders shaking with sobs. Rex remained perfectly still, allowing his partner to hold on to him, offering the comfort that only comes from unconditional love and loyalty. The medical equipment continued beeping steadily, but everyone in the room knew they were witnessing something that transcended medical care. Rodriguez, who had been standing back respectfully, found himself wiping away tears. He had joined the Marines looking for adventure and purpose. He had expected to find discipline and training. He had not expected to witness a demonstration of loyalty so pure it could make grown warriors cry. After several minutes, David finally pulled back enough to look into Rex's eyes. "I am going to get better, boy. You hear me? You did not come all this way just to watch me give up. If you can walk 70 miles sick and alone, I can heal from this. We are going home together, buddy. We are both going home." Rex's tail wagged so hard the entire stretcher shook slightly. Martinez checked her watch and caught Linda's eye, signaling that their time was running short. Linda nodded, understanding. "David, honey, Rex needs to go back to the base for continued treatment," Linda said gently. "His paws are badly damaged and he still needs careful medical supervision. But Captain Martinez has promised me she is going to get him healthy again, and you need to focus on getting healthy too." David nodded, though his hand tightened on Rex's collar. "When can I see him again?" Martinez stepped closer. "Staff Sergeant, I am going to be honest with you. Rex's recovery is going to take several weeks. Your recovery is going to take months. The best thing you can do for Rex is to focus on your own healing. Work with your doctors, follow their instructions, and get yourself strong again. Because when Rex is ready to come home, he is going to need you to be the partner he remembered. The person worth walking 70 miles to find." The words were tough but delivered with compassion, and David seemed to understand their wisdom. He leaned forward one more time, pressing his forehead against Rex's. "I love you, buddy. You saved me again, did not you? Just like you did in Afghanistan. You keep saving me." As they prepared to take Rex back to the ambulance, David's nurse noticed something on the cardiac monitor. She smiled and called the attending physician over. The doctor studied the readings and then looked at David with approval. "Staff Sergeant Harper, I do not know what kind of magic just happened here, but your cardiac output has improved more in the last 15 minutes than it has in the previous 3 days. Your blood pressure is the best it has been since you arrived. Whatever that dog did for you, it worked better than our medications." David managed a weak smile. "That is what Rex does, Doc. He is a healer. Always has been." As the stretcher was wheeled toward the door, Rex kept his eyes on David until the very last moment, when the wall blocked their view of each other. In the hall, the journey back to Camp Pendleton was quiet, but it carried a different energy than the trip to the hospital. Rex seemed more settled, as if seeing David had given him permission to truly rest. His breathing was easier, his body more relaxed. Captain Martinez monitored his vitals throughout the drive and was pleased to see that the brief reunion had not caused any negative effects. If anything, Rex appeared stronger. Sergeant Chen sat in the back of the ambulance watching the German Shepherd with deep respect. He had been a Marine for 8 years, had seen combat during his deployments, had witnessed acts of courage and sacrifice. But something about Rex's journey touched him differently. This was not courage born from training or duty. This was love made manifest through action. When they arrived back at the veterinary clinic, word had already spread about the successful reunion. A small crowd of Marines had gathered, wanting to welcome Rex back. Martinez had to politely but firmly establish boundaries, reminding everyone that Rex still needed rest and recovery. The dog was carried back to his treatment area, where a comfortable bed had been prepared with soft blankets and his favorite type of water bowl, information Linda had provided over the phone. Over the next week, Rex's condition improved steadily. His blood sugar levels stabilized with regular insulin doses. His kidney function returned to normal ranges. The damaged paws began healing, though Martinez warned that the recovery would be slow and Rex might always have some scarring. Physical therapy sessions were introduced gradually, helping Rex regain strength in his legs without putting too much pressure on his tender paws. During this time, something remarkable happened on the base. Rex became a symbol, a living reminder of the values every Marine held dear. His story spread beyond Camp Pendleton through military networks and social media. News outlets picked it up, running features about the loyal military dog who walked 70 miles to find his wounded handler. The articles included details about David and Rex's service in Afghanistan, their heroic missions, and their unbreakable bond. Donations began arriving at the base. People from across the country sent money specifically designated for Rex's care. Others sent care packages, dog treats, toys, and letters of encouragement addressed to both Rex and David. The base commander, Colonel Patricia Williams, held a press conference acknowledging the outpouring of support and announcing that any excess funds would be used to help other retired military, working dogs in need of medical care. Private Rodriguez took on the role of Rex's unofficial social media manager, posting daily updates about the dog's recovery with Captain Martinez's approval. The post showed Rex during his physical therapy sessions, taking his first wobbly steps after his ordeal, and eventually playing gently with a soft toy that someone had donated. Each post received thousands of comments from people inspired by Rex's story. Meanwhile, at the hospital, David Harper's recovery was progressing better than his doctors had initially predicted. The improvement in his mental state after seeing Rex had translated into physical healing. He worked hard with his cardiac rehabilitation team, pushing himself during supervised exercises, following his dietary restrictions, and maintaining a positive attitude that impressed his medical staff. Linda called Captain Martinez every day for updates on Rex, and Martinez made it a point to take photos and videos that Linda could share with David. The visual proof of Rex's improvement became David's motivation during difficult therapy sessions. When he was tired and wanted to quit, Linda would show him a new picture of Rex and David would find the strength to continue. 2 weeks after the hospital reunion, David was discharged. He came home to Riverside weak but determined, following strict orders about rest and gradual activity. The house felt empty without Rex, and both David and Linda felt the dog's absence acutely. They had set up Rex's bed in the corner of their bedroom, his food bowls in the kitchen, and his toys scattered around the living room, keeping everything ready for his return. Captain Martinez called them that evening with an update. Rex had a breakthrough today. He walked the entire length of the clinic hallway without limping. His paws are healing beautifully, and his diabetes is well controlled. I think we are looking at another week, maybe 2 at most, before he can come home. David's voice was thick with emotion. Thank you, Captain. Thank you for saving him. I know what kind of shape he must have been in when your team found him. Without your expertise and care, I would have lost him. Martinez was quiet for a moment before responding. Staff Sergeant, I have been a veterinarian for 15 years, 12 of those working with military animals. I have treated countless dogs for injuries, illnesses, and combat trauma. But I have never seen anything like what Rex did. That dog rewrote the rules about what is possible when love and loyalty drive action. Saving him was not just my job. It was my honor. After the call ended, David sat on the back porch of their small house, looking out at the yard where Rex used to play. Linda joined him, bringing 2 cups of tea and sitting beside him quietly. They had been married for 10 years, had weathered David's deployments and his difficult adjustment to civilian life. The heart attack had been the scariest challenge they had faced, but somehow they were going to get through it together. "I keep thinking about what Rex went through," David said softly. 70 miles, Linda. Can you imagine how scared he must have been? He had no way to understand what happened to me, why I suddenly disappeared. All he knew was that I was gone and he needed to find me. So he went to the last place where things made sense to him, the place where he and I were always together as a team. Linda took his hand. "That dog loves you more than anything in this world. You gave him a life after war. You helped him transition from being a weapon to being a pet. You showed him what safety and peace feel like. Of course he would move heaven and earth to get back to you." David nodded, tears sliding down his cheeks. "I just wish I could explain to him why I left, why I could not take him with me. I wish he could understand that I never wanted to leave him behind." "I think he does understand," Linda said gently. "He understands in the way dogs understand things, through feeling rather than logic. And now he knows you are alive, that you are healing, and that you are waiting for him. That is enough." Back at Camp Pendleton, Rex's days had fallen into a comfortable routine. He woke early with the bass, the sounds of reveille and morning exercises familiar and comforting. Captain Martinez would check his vitals, give him his insulin shot, and oversee his breakfast. Then came physical therapy, which Rex approached with the same discipline he had shown during his military training. Sergeant Chen visited every day during his lunch break. He had become deeply attached to Rex, and the feeling appeared mutual. Rex would perk up when Chen entered the clinic, his tail wagging enthusiastically. Chen would sit on the floor beside Rex's bed, talking to him about his day, about the training exercises with his squad, about ordinary things. Rex would listen attentively, his head tilted slightly, looking for all the world like he understood every word. One afternoon, Chen brought a special visitor. His squad had been asking about Rex constantly, and Chen thought it might be good for the dog to have some social interaction beyond the medical staff. He brought Private Rodriguez, Corporal Williams, and 3 other Marines who had been present the day Rex collapsed on the training grounds. Rex greeted each of them like old friends, his tail wagging and his body language relaxed and happy. The Marines sat in a circle around him, taking turns petting him and talking to him. Rodriguez had brought his laptop and showed Rex the social media posts about him, reading some of the comments aloud. "Listen to this one, Rex," Rodriguez said. "It is from a veteran in Ohio. He says Rex represents everything good about military working dogs. They give everything for their handlers and never ask for anything in return except love and purpose. This story reminded me why I was proud to serve alongside K9 units. Semper Fi, Rex." Rex's tail thumped against the floor at the words Semper Fi, the Marine Corps motto meaning always faithful. It was a phrase he had heard countless times during his years of service, and it seemed to resonate with him even now. As the visit continued, Captain Martinez watched from her office. She had been worried that Rex might become depressed being separated from David, but seeing him interact with these Marines, she realized that Rex understood he was among his tribe. These were people who valued the same things he did: loyalty, duty, courage. They spoke his language, even if the specific handler he loved most was not present. That evening, after the Marines left, Martinez sat beside Rex's bed and scratched behind his ears. "You know what, Rex? You have done something remarkable here. You have reminded all of us why we do what we do. Every Marine on this base has been touched by your story. You have made them better, made them remember what really matters." Rex looked at her with his intelligent dark eyes, and Martinez could have sworn the dog understood exactly what she was saying. She thought about the week ahead, about the final tests she needed to run before clearing Rex to go home. She thought about the reunion that was coming, when David would walk through their door and Rex would be waiting for him. It would be a moment of pure joy, the kind that heals wounds deeper than any medicine could reach. 3 weeks after Rex had collapsed on the training grounds at Camp Pendleton, Captain Martinez made the call that Linda and David Harper had been desperately waiting for. Rex was cleared to go home. His blood sugar was stable, his paws had healed enough for normal activity, and his overall health had returned to baseline. More importantly, his spirit was strong, and his desire to reunite with his handler was evident in every aspect of his behavior. The plan for Rex's homecoming was carefully coordinated. Martinez wanted to ensure the transition was smooth and that both David and Rex had the support they needed. She arranged for David to come to the base to pick up Rex personally, rather than having the dog delivered. She felt it was important for David to see where Rex had been cared for and to meet the Marines who had saved his partner's life. On the morning of the reunion, Camp Pendleton was buzzing with anticipation. Word had spread that Rex was going home, and dozens of Marines asked permission to be present for the moment. Colonel Williams granted approval for a small ceremony, recognizing that Rex's story had become part of the base's identity. Sergeant Chen and his squad arrived early, making sure everything was perfect. They had worked with the base photographer to document Rex's recovery, creating a photo album that they planned to give to David. Private Rodriguez had compiled all the social media posts, comments, and news articles into a scrapbook. It was their way of showing David that Rex's journey had meant something to hundreds of thousands of people. David and Linda arrived at the base gate at 10 in the morning. David moved slowly, still recovering from his heart attack, but his eyes were bright with anticipation. Linda held his arm, providing support both physical and emotional. They were processed through security and escorted to the veterinary clinic by Sergeant Chen himself. Staff Sergeant Harper, Mrs. Harper, "It is an honor to meet you both officially," Chen said as he walked with them. "Your dog is a legend here now. Every Marine on this base knows Rex's story, and every single one of them has been inspired by his loyalty." David smiled, though his emotions were clearly running high. "I still cannot believe he made it this far. 70 miles while he was sick. It defies logic." "Sir, with respect, I think it defies human logic," Chen replied. "But for a dog like Rex, for a partner who served alongside you in combat, who trusts you with his life, it makes perfect sense. He was not going to let a little thing like 70 miles and diabetic ketoacidosis stop him from finding you." They approached the clinic, and Chen opened the door. Inside, a group of about 30 Marines stood at attention, forming an honor guard. At the far end of the corridor, Captain Martinez stood beside Rex, who was sitting perfectly still in a formal working dog pose, though his tail was wagging uncontrollably. The moment David stepped through the door, Rex broke his position. The German shepherd surged forward, pulling against Martinez's gentle hold on his collar. Martinez released him, and Rex raced down the hallway with a speed that seemed impossible for a dog who had been so critically ill just weeks earlier. David dropped to his knees, not caring about his own physical limitations, and Rex collided with him in a joyful reunion that brought tears to every eye in the room. The dog jumped up, placing his paws on David's shoulders, licking his face, whining with happiness. David wrapped his arms around Rex, burying his face in the dog's fur, his shoulders shaking with sobs. "I missed you so much, buddy," David whispered. "I am so sorry I left you. I am so sorry you had to go through that alone." Linda stood back, crying openly, watching the two partners reunite. The Marines maintained their respectful silence, but many of them were wiping away tears as well. This was more than a man and his dog. This was a testament to the bonds forged in service, the connections that transcended species and circumstance. After several minutes, David managed to compose himself enough to stand, though he kept one hand on Rex's head at all times. Colonel Williams stepped forward, introducing herself formally. "Staff Sergeant Harper, on behalf of everyone at Camp Pendleton, I want to thank you for your service to our country. Your record in Afghanistan with Rex speaks for itself. The missions you completed, the lives you saved. The courage you demonstrated, all of it represents the best of what the Marine Corps stands for." David straightened slightly, falling into a natural attention stance despite his weakened condition. "Thank you, ma'am. It was my honor to serve." Williams continued. "What your partner did, traveling 70 miles to reach this base, has had a profound impact on every person stationed here. Rex reminded us that loyalty is not just a word we say. It is an action we take, even when that action is difficult or dangerous. In recognition of his service and his extraordinary demonstration of faithfulness, I would like to present Rex with the honorary rank of sergeant." A Marine stepped forward carrying a small wooden plaque with a custom-made rank insignia and a certificate. Williams presented it to David, who accepted it with shaking hands. The assembled Marines applauded, and Rex's tail wagged harder, sensing the positive energy in the room. Captain Martinez approached next, carrying a folder of medical records and care instructions. "Staff Sergeant, I want to review Rex's ongoing care needs with you. His diabetes management is crucial. He needs insulin twice daily, 12 hours apart without fail. I have written detailed instructions, and I want you to have my direct phone number in case any issues arise." David nodded seriously. "I understand, ma'am." "I will not let him down again." Martinez placed her hand on his arm. "Sir, you did not let him down the first time. You had a life-threatening medical emergency. What happened was not your fault. What matters now is that you both focus on healing and moving forward together." The ceremony concluded with Sergeant Chen presenting the photo, album, and scrapbook to David and Linda. As David flipped through the pages, seeing images of Rex during his recovery, reading comments from people around the world who had been moved by the story, he felt overwhelmed by gratitude. "I do not know how to thank all of you," David said, his voice breaking. "You saved Rex's life. You gave him the care and attention he needed when I could not be there. You treated him like he mattered, like his life had value." "Sir," Chen replied, "Rex's life does have value. He is a Marine, same as any of us. We take care of our own. That is what we do." The drive home to Riverside took just over an hour. Rex rode in the back seat, his head resting on David's lap the entire time. David stroked the dog's fur continuously, still hardly believing they were together again. Linda drove carefully, glancing in the rearview mirror frequently at the reunited partners. When they pulled into their driveway, Rex recognized home immediately. His tail began wagging as Linda opened the car door, and he jumped out with enthusiasm, then immediately looked back to make sure David was following. Together they walked into the house, Rex staying close to David's side as if afraid to let him out of sight. Over the following weeks, David and Rex healed together. David attended cardiac rehabilitation sessions 3 times a week, gradually rebuilding his strength. Rex accompanied him when possible, providing motivation and emotional support. The dog's presence had a measurable effect on David's recovery. His doctors noted that his blood pressure remained lower and his heart rate more stable when Rex was nearby. Linda watched the two of them with deep love and gratitude. She saw how David would talk to Rex throughout the day, explaining what he was doing, asking the dog's opinion on trivial matters, maintaining a constant conversation that kept them connected. She saw how Rex never left David's side, how the dog positioned himself so he could always see his handler, how Rex would gently nudge David toward his medication when it was time for his pills. The story of Rex's 70-mile journey continued to spread and inspire people long after the dog came home. Military working dog organizations used Rex's story as an example of the incredible bonds between handlers and their partners. Schools invited David and Rex to speak about loyalty, dedication, and overcoming obstacles. Though David was initially hesitant, he eventually agreed to a few select appearances, feeling it was important to honor Rex's courage and to advocate for better support for retired military working dogs. 6 months after the heart attack, David's cardiologist cleared him for light-duty work. He had accepted a position training new canine handlers at a facility near Camp Pendleton, bringing his experience and expertise to the next generation. Rex, though officially retired, occasionally accompanied David to work, serving as a teaching example of what a well-trained military working dog should be. On the anniversary of the day Rex collapsed at Camp Pendleton, David and Linda returned to the base with their dog for a special ceremony. The Marines who had been present that day gathered again, along with many others who had followed Rex's story. A memorial plaque was unveiled near the spot where Rex had collapsed, commemorating his incredible journey and dedication. The plaque read, "On this spot, military working dog Rex, USMC, demonstrated the ultimate loyalty by traveling 70 miles while critically ill to reach his handler. His actions remind us that the bonds forged in service transcend species and circumstance. Semper Fidelis is not just a motto, it is a way of life." The plaque read, "On this spot, military working dog Rex, USMC, demonstrated the ultimate loyalty by traveling 70 miles while critically ill to reach his handler. His actions remind us that the bonds forged in service transcend species and circumstance. Semper Fidelis is not just a motto, it is a way of life." Sergeant Chen stood beside David during the ceremony, the two men having formed a friendship that extended beyond that first dramatic day. Chen had been promoted and was now leading canine training operations himself, inspired by Rex's example to pursue working with military dogs. "You know what Rex taught me?" Chen said to David as they stood together. I always thought courage was about facing your fears in battle. But Rex showed me that real courage is continuing forward when your body is failing, when everything tells you to stop, because the person you love needs you. That is a lesson I will carry with me forever. David nodded, his hand resting on Rex's head. The German shepherd sat calmly between them, his intelligent eyes watching the ceremony. At 9 years old, Rex showed signs of age, moving a bit slower, sleeping a bit more. But his spirit remained strong, and his devotion to David had not diminished one bit. As the ceremony concluded and the crowd began to disperse, David and Linda walked with Rex across the base one final time before heading home. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the training grounds where Rex had collapsed a year earlier. It seemed impossible that so much had happened since that day, that this dog had traveled such an incredible distance and survived against such terrible odds. But as David watched Rex trot beside him, tail wagging, eyes bright, he understood that nothing was impossible when love was the driving force. Rex had taught him that lesson in Afghanistan, saving his life repeatedly through courage and skill. Rex had taught him that lesson again with the 70-mile journey, showing that loyalty could overcome any obstacle. And most importantly, Rex had taught him that healing was not a solo journey. Whether recovering from war trauma or heart attacks, whether facing physical challenges or emotional struggles, having a partner who would never give up on you made all the difference. They loaded Rex into the car for the drive home, and the dog settled into his favorite spot in the back seat. As Linda started the engine, David turned to look at his partner one more time. Rex met his gaze with those knowing dark eyes, and in that moment no words were necessary. They had found each other again. They had survived impossible odds. They had been reminded by dozens of caring Marines that they were not alone in this world. And whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, just as they always had. That was what it meant to be partners. That was what Semper Fidelis truly meant. Always faithful through everything until the very end.